Hi, I wanted to share with you some of the reading and research I've been doing on neuroscience, particularly around creativity. I wanted to share it because it's something I'm very interested about, and I know for many of our clients, particularly creativity and innovation is one of their key focuses. So, with creativity, have you ever noticed the harder you try to focus on a problem, the larger the problem seems and the more elusive the solution? Well, that's a challenge that many of us face. We're time poor. We've got competing demands on our limited resources, and this really makes it difficult to push out, the creative solutions that we're so often demanding. So, how does neuroscience help us in terms of understanding creativity? Well, as research around neuroscience develops, the use of functional MRI scans, amongst other things, is really helping us understand which parts of the brain light up when we're doing particular activities, and so we can understand which parts of the brain are connected with those activities and also potentially how to activate them. And so that's providing some really interesting material for us to think through. So what are we learning about the brain? Well, researchers, when they're focusing on the brain, notice that people, when they're having particular insights, it's their right anterior temporal lobe which is being activated. And so that's the part of the brain which scientists believe recognizes and makes connections between some distant ideas and helping to produce insights. Also, chemically in the brain, we understand that serotonin and dopamine are two powerful neurotransmitters that, when they combine together and work together, provide the perfect neurochemical cocktail for creativity. Serotonin helps us be relaxed and not fearful, and dopamine helps us be engaged and not bored. So it's that element of novelty that really brings us in and engages us. So what gets in the way of creativity? Well, it's often our attentional control network. It's that prefrontal cortex and the executive function, which causes us to focus in really tightly on a problem, as we're so well trained to do. And that intense focus can often shut out some of the quieter parts of the brain that make those connections, thereby reducing our creativity. Also, it's stress has a big impact on our brains and produces cortisol, which is known to reduce creativity. Overwhelm, we've got so much going on in our brains that it can be difficult to apply our limited resources to process all of these things. And also perceived threats. Even small perceived threats can have up to a 50% reduction in creativity, some of the studies have found. So how can we be more creative? Well, we can start by softening our focus on the problem. Take a break, go for a walk, and this allows us to relax the activation of the attentional control network, which can silence the inner critic and allow new ideas to form and come to the front. Being creative can also be about inhibition, choosing to turn off our email, silence our phone, so that we have that space where we're not being continually interrupted by the stimulus-driven attentional system. Trying to find that ideal balance between being engaged and relaxed, which we know is connected to creativity. So how do we translate this into practical applications for being creative? Well, we can imagine ourselves as a 7-year-old, and that can help us with our inhibitions, silencing that inner critic and being more open to ideas. Going for a walk. Rather than having a meeting with a colleague in a meeting room, why not the two of you go for a walk, which provides a much more conducive environment for creative dialogue, creative ideas. Talking to other people with different perspectives. Getting enough sleep is key. We know that serotonin is an important factor in creativity, and serotonin levels are replenished when we get quality sleep, so that's important. And also doing your creative thinking when you're at your best, and we'll find that serotonin levels are often highest in the morning. The other neurotransmitter we mentioned was dopamine, and so dopamine is engaged by novelty, so things that you're excited about. Or if you're trying to get your dopamine levels up during the day, taking 2 minutes to watch something on YouTube has been known to increase levels of dopamine. If you're looking to build your creativity longer term, meeting new people, sharing new ideas, putting your hand up for new projects, both personal and professional, can increase your creativity. And putting yourself in situations you're not used to can also help broaden out those neural connections that you've got and allow you to connect, more distant ideas. So doing these things can help you increase the number of insights that you'll have.